Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new early movie review, and today we got a pretty big film to talk about. It's a pretty big event film, and that is Godzilla vs. Kong, which is already out internationally, but will be coming to the US this Wednesday, March 31st on HBO Max, as well as in theaters. Now, I got a chance to check out the film early, and I'm so excited to let you all know I thought about the movie, and if you all should check it out in this spoiler-free review before we dive into it. Make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts, which you can find those links in the description below. If you are new to the channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert when I drop new early content. It will mean a lot to me if you all can like and share this spoiler-free review of Godzilla vs. Kong. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate the support. And in the comments below, go ahead and spam. Go ahead and let me know, are you team Godzilla? Are you team Kong? Once you've seen the film, let me know your positives, your negatives, your thoughts on the fights, the monsters, the humans. Do you want to see more from the Monsterverse? And more importantly, let me know your rankings of all 4 films in the comment section. So for me, before I get into my spoiler-free thoughts, just my general thoughts of the Monsterverse, I enjoy the films for the most part. All 3 films, 2014's Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, Monsters, King of Monsters. I enjoy the kaiju fights. I enjoy that they allowed horror directors to direct these films, and I enjoy their sensibilities. And when it comes to my negatives, the subplots don't always work. The humans are the weakest parts of the films, but nonetheless, this brings me to my excitement level for this movie. It's Godzilla vs. Kong, ladies and gentlemen. It's the 2 titans that I've grown up with as a kid, seen most of their films. So excited to see Adam Wingard direct this film. Really excited for this cast. Here we are discussing it. Now, the way I want to handle this review is kind of breaking it down versus King Kong versus Team Godzilla, the pros and cons with both groups there. Now, speaking of both groups, I want to start this off with my positives, starting off with the MVP for me, Team Kong, ladies and gentlemen. He stole this movie. From the very beginning of this movie, from seeing his morning routine all the way up to the end of the movie, he was an absolute MVP. This film felt more like a Kong film and more of a sequel to Kong Skull Island, more so than it was a Godzilla film. Now, Godzilla gets his moments, and we'll talk about him in a bit, but if you are a Kong fan, you will not be disappointed. I mean, he carries the emotional beats, the human connection that he has with Gia. He carries the incredible action set pieces, which involve him and his subplot and going to a new area of the world, per se. I'll just leave it at that. Love that Adam Wingard allowed the audience to get the emotional resonance with Kong's story. And we all know, if you've seen a lot of Kong movies, he always has like some type of human connection with mostly women. And in this case, it's a little girl, Gia, who we'll talk about here in a second. But I thought that it was just so great that we got to see, I cared for Kong. I was rooting for him. I was happy for him. I had good laughs with the character. And then most importantly, when it comes to the fights, he was incredible. And we'll get to, again, Godzilla a little bit later. But I thought easily the best part of this movie was everything involving Kong. And it really was a Kong movie. So again, you will not be disappointed for Kong if you are a Kong fan, which again, speaking of Kong and his humans, you know, you have Alexander Skarsgård, Rebecca Hall, Eiza González, and you have the little girl Gia. We'll talk about some of those characters a little bit later in this review, but for me, Rebecca Hall and Gia were the best human characters of this entire film. And particularly, Rebecca Hall was fine. She's a glorified babysitter in this movie more than anything, but I like her as an actress, and she did a good job in her role. But it's the little girl that plays Gia, man. This was the relationship she had with Kong. You understood it. You knew why Kong protected her. You knew why she cared so much for Kong. I thought that was like the best emotional aspect in regards to human and their kaiju, their counterpart kaiju. I thought that their relationship was fantastic. So that brings me to Team Godzilla, which again, I feel like this was more of a Kong film, but Godzilla does some incredible stuff. There is stuff you will see Godzilla do in this movie you've never seen before, and it'll be interesting to see what people think of Godzilla in this movie once you all have seen it. But you know, Godzilla, his team consists of Millie Bobby Brown, Kyle Chandler, you have Brian Tyree Henry, you have Julian Dennison, and we'll talk about the majority of those humans really didn't work for me. Besides Brian Tyree Henry, I thought that him as this kind of conspiracist, he had a lot of the funny jokes within the film, and I like Brian Tyree Henry. I think he's just a great actor as a whole, and I thought that he was probably the most interesting human on Godzilla's team. But let's focus a little bit more on Godzilla. Like I had mentioned, this isn't really his movie in my personal opinion, but when it comes to his plot and involving Apex, this new kind of human ran group that's like the counterpart of Monarch, I thought that Godzilla had some good moments, had some really great action set pieces, but his plot, which I'll talk a little bit about later, was a little bit too generic and a little bit bland for my personal taste. But for the most part, I thought that Godzilla doing some really awesome fight stuff and him fighting Kong, which we'll talk about the fighting here in a bit, I thought that Godzilla did they did justice to Godzilla when it comes to the action. But going into the fight between the two titans without spoilers, it 100% lives up to the hype from the advertisement. They do fight quite a few times in this film, which I really love, and I thought that when it came to how it was handled and putting them together on screen, it delivered on all of that advertisement. If you were looking for Kong versus Godzilla and that's all you wanted, you will get this. You will get that, and you get it multiple times in the film, and I don't think you'll be disappointed when you see these two titans come together for the first time and multiple times within this film. Now, focusing a little bit on the story plot, the biggest surprise for me and the most welcoming surprise, because I not only love kaiju fights, I love action, I love horror, but I also love sci-fi. This movie has so much sci-fi love in it. I did not expect that. I saw a little bit from it in the trailers. I honestly didn't watch all the trailers because they were just giving away a little bit too much, especially towards the back half of the advertising. But I didn't know how much sci-fi was going to be in this film. And most of the sci-fi goes back to my favorite character, goes to Kong and his subplot. Without diving too much into it, the science behind this discovery of a hidden place was really interesting. I love the visuals and all the stuff that went down in that discovery. I love the action moments that took place. Now, the science aspect was a little bit underdeveloped and didn't make that much sense, but I love the sci-fi in this film, guys. Like I said, if you are a sci-fi fiend like me, you will be very happy with the elements of sci-fi in this film. I did enjoy the history that they kind of gave the audience in regards to these two titans, how they have this kind of past in regards to Godzilla and Kong's people and stuff like that. I really like how the film focuses on that. Again, I want to bring it back to Adam Wingard, who I'm a big fan of him as a director. I thought he did a solid job of directing the action, really doing a good job with the pace in the film. It doesn't feel overwhelming. It's under 2 hours, which is the shortest film in this entire Monsterverse. He didn't put in any of there are some unnecessary human drama a little bit later that I'll talk about, but for the most part, it's not like bogged down with like divorced parents and kids going all, it doesn't have all that stuff. And I love how Adam Wingard pays homage to these two titans. There's a lot of like Easter eggs and a lot of stuff that you have seen in past Godzilla films as well as Kong films and puts in his film. I thought that was a great job and paying respect to both characters per se. And also, I don't want to leave out, I appreciated the monster details, the scale of the monsters, the gorgeous cinematography. This is up there with Kong Skull Island and King of the Monsters as far as the visuals. The striking visuals are really well done. Shout out to Junkie XL with his score. I love the originality that he brought to the score, but also him paying homage to the score from our two titans. So I thought the production of this film was really well done, which brings me into my criticisms. Now, again, I talked about Team Godzilla and the human elements in his plot. I'm not going to lie, it was the worst part of the film. King Kong, or I should say Kong in this film, his plots were just so much more interesting. The humans involving Godzilla, Millie Bobby Brown and her friend Peter, played by Julian, and Brian Tyree Henry, who was the best, side of that story. That subplot of them trying to discover why Godzilla is attacking people, to me, that could have been completely taken out of the film. They could have just completely taken them out of the movie, those characters. Like Millie Bobby Brown and her father relationship that they tried to carry over from King of Monsters were so underwhelming. I honestly think Millie Bobby Brown, her friend Peter, and her dad could have been cut out of the movie, and they just could have gave everything that they gave them to Team Kong's characters and just give Brian Tyree Henry into the mix. I thought that was just like so. Whenever we went to Godzilla's human story and obviously Godzilla's story, it kind of lost momentum for me and it kind of lost my interest. Just in particularly Alexander Skarsgård's character, his plot involving his brother was forgotten about. Like I said, Millie Bobby Brown and her dad's story was just so unnecessary in this film. And then Peter, Julian, Dennison was pointless. He was an absolutely pointless character. And even Eiza González, she's a good up and coming actress. She's a very beautiful woman. She's literally used for eye candy in this movie, and she has one purpose in this movie revolving around her connection to Apex, which to me again was just Plymouth. That plot was just so underwhelming and so boring, if I'm being completely honest. And the government and the henchmen were just purposeless in this movie. And like I said, when it comes to Godzilla and his plot, his reasonings why he's attacking the humans in this film just felt underwhelming, very generic, very on the nose, involving Apex. And speaking of Apex, I didn't like it. I didn't like Apex, and I don't want to get into the details because I don't know that a lot of people don't follow the trailers and don't follow the toys leaking and all that stuff. But I'll just say what Apex is doing in this film and what their plans are looked cool, but it felt shoehorned in. I don't want to say what their plans are because, again, I don't know how many people know the thing that's out there that a lot of people already know about due to toys being leaked, and also a more recent trailer that shows a character in this film or the plans of Apex in this film. But I just wasn't a fan of how I felt like the end result was. It was impressive design, but the end result just felt very underwhelming for me personally. And then lastly, this is kind of a nitpick, but the environments when we see our Titans fighting, it didn't feel real. It felt very just like it didn't feel like it had the impact in regards to when they're fighting each other. I didn't feel like it was like a real environment. I just feel like it was just fake kind of buildings. They were crashing in buildings. There were people running around. It didn't feel like it had the catastrophic destruction as the other films had. It just felt like it was just like a bunch of loud noise, and there was no repercussions of these kaijus fighting in Tokyo, fighting, over in the areas that they do. So I just feel like the destruction element didn't feel as realistic as the other films portrayed it. But those are my cons. Before I give you my overall thoughts and my score, make sure to like the video, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments once you've seen the film, and of course subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my other content. With that being said, let me give you all my overall thoughts and my score for Godzilla vs. Kong. So overall, the film delivers on its promise on seeing these two titans going head to head, and there is definitely a definitive winner between Godzilla and Kong, and I appreciate that. For me, Kong was the MVP of the entire film. He carried the emotional beats of the film, as well as adding a lot of awesome sci-fi elements, which I love to see in this movie. The film doesn't overwhelm and stay. Adam Wingard did a solid job of directing. I wish Godzilla had a little bit more to do, and I wish his plot was a little bit more fleshed out, as well as his humans involved in this film. But overall, I had a fun time with this film, and I think if you're a fan of Godzilla as well as Kong, you're going to enjoy it as well. With that being said, I'm going to give this film a 3 out of 5. As far as rankings go, for me, it's probably Kong Skull Island, Godzilla vs. Kong, King of Monsters, and then Godzilla. After rewatch, I'm going to rewatch this film as it comes out this Wednesday, and just see if maybe the things that I kind of didn't enjoy the first viewing maybe is a little bit more enhanced if I see it again. And also, I want to see this in theaters, ladies and gentlemen. If you have the opportunity to see it in theaters, if you feel safe, if theaters are obviously open and where you live, I would only imagine how beautiful this film looks in theaters, and it might just enhance my enjoyment with this film. But right now, like I said, I'm sitting at a 3 out of 5. It's my second favorite film in the Monsterverse. So with that being said, let me know once you've seen this film, your pros, your cons. Do you want to see more from the Monsterverse? Who do you think was the better character? Are you happy with the winner of this film? And also let me know your rankings of all 4 films in the comments. As always, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my other content. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe. We'll see you on the next video.